Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all after a week. We covered a lot of ground last week. We covered conditional formatting, sorting, filters, a lot of topics, and it is always exciting to learn more about Excel. So, without much delay or introduction, we'll start with today's topic. Now, you would know that my friend Kevin is the one who usually helps me with the hosting of Zoom. So today Kevin could not come. I think he has driving class or something. So my friend Chippu is there today. He's the one who is helping me out today with the hosting of this. So in the middle, you'll hear me saying, Chippu, help me with that or that. So I'm just saying this beforehand so you know who I'm referring to. Now, we'll start as you all would have received the Excel sheets. You can open it and work along with me. It's a very simple data. It's basically the same data as last week. I just added the employee code and a little bit of questions here. So this is what we're going to work at. As you would have seen the links that you would have got, the first thing that, so we're going to be covering if formula, we're going to be covering some ifs, Averageifs, Countifs, and something about Vlookup. So all these are formulas. I think, yeah, all these are formulas. We're not using any functions today, all are formulas. As you know, as we saw last week, any formula in Excel begins with an is equal to. So if you type is equal to, let's say you want to do a sum, you would just type SUM and you can see there are different formulas all with the text sum. If you want to do VLOOKUP, what we learned last week, you would do is equal to VLOOKUP and you can see that the VLOOKUP formula opens. Similarly, we have the if formula. So let's just look at the if formula part by part. Is equal to if. So that's the simple way how to get the formula is equal to if. And like I have said over last week and the week before that, if you want to open the formula, you can either double click or you can just press tab, which is my personal favorite. Now there are three parts for this formula. So this is a formula description. So you open any formula in Excel, you can see this description. There are three parts for this formula. One is a logical test. Logical test means, so you want to say if formulas work in this way, if this happens, then this has to happen. So let's say you are going for a function and if, or let's say you're going for breakfast somewhere, okay, and it's pretty expensive. So you find that the price is around 50 to 80 dirhams. And you're thinking, if the price is 80, then I'm not going. But if it is 50, then I'm going. It's a very simple logical test. If the price of the place that you're going to for breakfast is 80, you're not going. If it is 50, you are going. That is how it works. So that's just a very relatable example that I mentioned. So now we have this data in front of us. We're going to be working with different logical tests. Now the first part is logical test, which is in bold. The second part is value if true. So yes, your condition is this. So if your condition is true, then what is the value that should be displayed? That is what is shown in value if true. And then the next part is value if false. So if your data, if the condition that you put is not true, then what is the value that should be displayed there? There are three parts for this formula. Let us begin. So we are going to start with this. I hope you all have the Excel files open. If you don't have, I can share it to you again. Now we're going to start with this data here. Very, very small table. You can ignore this entire thing for now. We're just going to work with this marks of students first. So you can see there is names and there is marks and there is above or below average. So what we are going to do first is have a very simple formula where we are going to be finding out whether the names of these students or whether these students have scored marks that are above or below average. Now, so as we saw before, we are going to be using the if formula. Let's say the condition is 50. So you can see there are marks all the way from, I think the lowest is 20. Yeah, from 20 all the way to 93. 93 is the highest value. Now let us say that your condition is 50. So if the mark is below 50, then you want below average to be displayed there. And if the mark is above 50, then you want the text above average to be mentioned there. So your condition, if the mark is below 50, the text shown should be below average. If the mark is above 50, then the text shown is above average. We start with if is equal to if. Now, the logical test. So what is the logical test that should be done? Obviously, it is nothing to do with the name, it is with a mark. So we select that. If K6, now K6 obviously means this data here. So if this value is greater than 50, that is the logical test that we're putting here. If the value in this cell is greater than 50, so what should be displayed? Above average. Above average. If not, it should be shown below average. This is the formula that we're going to put enter. So if the value here is greater than 50, the text shown in this cell should be above average. And if not, means if this is not true, then the value shown should be below average. Now, when I press enter, you're going to see an error. The reason being, as we saw last week, if you're going to put any text in Excel in a formula, so there's a text that you want displayed, you have to put it in double quotes, which means you will have to put double quotes before the text and after the text. This is one very common reason for error in formulas, so make sure you remember this. If ever you're going to put any text that you want displayed as text in Excel, you have to put it in double quotes. You press enter. Now let us check. What is the condition that we have? If the mark is above 50, it has to show above average, which is correct. So technically, if I copy the formula down, because this is below 50, it should be shown below average. Let me do Control D. Yes, below average. And we just drag down the formula. That's what happened. So let us check. Above average, is it above 50? Yes, it's 59. It's showing below average here. 43 is below 50? Yes. That is a very, very simple if formula. Now, we're going to work with our main data there. So, you can see you have employee codes here, you have employee names, you have the salaries, you have the number of years in the company, and you have the Emirate of residence where some is Sharjah, some Dubai, Abu Dhabi, but you have some of them unspecified, which we will look at later. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to be classifying the employees. So let us say the company just wants to classify the employees into high earning or low earning. Now, yes, for example, when you look at Henry's salary here, 8,900, okay, it's a big figure. You look at James, it's probably a less figure. But let's say they have some allotment that they want to do, or some increment, or some incentive, and they want it returned here, right next to the employee name. They want it to be mentioned whether it's a high earning or a low earning employee. Now, let us say they're using pretty much the same condition, the same format of logic as was used here. Let us say the condition that the employee is using is that if the salary earned is more than 5,000, the text displayed here should be high earning. And if the salary that is displayed here is less than 5,000, then the text that is shown here should be low earning. So we start with if formula. Once again, I repeat the condition. If the salary mentioned in this cell is greater than 5,000, the value, if true, we want it as high earning. And the salary, if it is less than 5,000, let us put it as low earning. Or let us say, let us leave the higher earning and lower earning. Let us put it as first category, second category. So if the salary is above 5,000, then we want as first category. If the salary is below 5,000, then we want as second category. So logical test. So you can see when you open the bracket, the first argument here is logical test. If this amount here is greater than 5,000, the value, if true, that is what should be the value that is shown in this cell if the logical test is true. You want first category. And if it is 5,000 or less, it will be shown as second category. I close the bracket and I press enter. Let's check. So this amount is 5,000 or less, which is showing second category. So when I do here, it's still showing second because it is 5,000. Now, if I want to change the condition to such a way that 5,000 or higher has to be first category, then I would need to change my formula to make it here if D6 is greater than 4,999, which means what will happen is 5,000 or higher will be shown as first category. So if I copy that formula down all the way to here, you can see it's showing first category, second category. Let's check random amounts. So 3,000 here, it's showing me second category because the formula says it's less than 5,000. 8,900, it's a figure greater than 5,000, which is showing first category. So you have to understand that Excel formulas, they also update automatically. If I change this figure to, let's say, 3,000. So if D5 is greater than 3,000, it has to show first category. And if it is less than that, it has to show second category. So this is showing second category now. Is it less than 3,000? Yes. This is second category as of now because there's an old formula, the 5001. So what happens if I copy it down? I copied the first formula down and it changed to first category because this value is 5,000, which is not correct as per our argument here, which is saying that if the value is greater than 3,000, it has to show first category. And if I copy this formula all the way down, it goes like that. You can see some changes were done because all the salary that is below 3,000 has been termed as second category, and all the formulas, all the values that are higher than 3,000 have been termed as first category. Now, let us, okay. So that is one if formula, as in that is the basic if formula. You put an if, there's a logical test, there's a value of true, and there's a value of false. Now, okay, this is done. So let's say we want to do another classification. So as you all know, it's Corona time, it's pandemic time, and officers are telling that you don't have to come for work every day. But let us say that this company is having a certain condition. So let's say the company is based in Dubai, and they're saying that all the employees who are staying in Dubai have to come every day for work. All the employees who are staying in Sharjah need to come only for alternate days. And anything that is unspecified, it needs to be discussed. Okay? Or any other emirate, it needs to be discussed later. So once again, I repeat, the condition is this. We have more than one condition here. If the employee is staying in Dubai, the text displayed here should be when to come for work every day. If the employee is staying in Sharjah, it has to show me alternate days. Anything else, it has to show need to discuss later. So let us begin. We have Sharjah here, we have Dubai, we have unspecified, we have Abu Dhabi, we have a variety of data in this field. So let's begin. Is equal to if, okay, I'll just remove this data from here because it's easier to work for me. Okay, is equal to if. The first condition that we have is if the employee is in Dubai, then the text displayed here should be every day. So when to come for work every day. So if this is equal to Dubai. Now I can't just type Dubai. Like I told you, I have to put it in double quotes. So if this is equal to Dubai, then what should happen? The text should be shown as every day. Now my value false, I can't put yet. I need to put one more condition that if an employee is staying in Sharjah, the text shown should be alternate days. So I open another if formula here. So you can see two parts are done. I'm going to open my next if formula here. So if this is equal to Dubai, it's every day. If not, what happens? The next if condition comes into place. If this is equal to Sharjah, then what is the value if true? It has to show alternate days. So I type alternate days. Now the value if false, that is, if the Sharjah thing is not true, that is, if it's not showing alternate days, what does it have to show? It has to show need to discuss later. Fine. We finished that if formula. So I have to close one bracket. because the bracket opens here and the bracket ends here. But we have to remember that this all is part of another if formula here. So I have to close my bracket once again here. When I press enter, you can see alternate days. As we discussed, an employee staying in Sharjah, it has to show alternate days. So if it's Dubai, it should be showing me every day. Let's check if that is the case. That is the case. So what happens if it is not specified? It has to show the text need to discuss later. Let's check that. You can see that is how this functions. So technically, if I go to Abu Dhabi, it should show me the same thing, need to discuss later. And that is how that functions. So let me just drag that formula all the way down. And let's check random data here. Abu Dhabi, need to discuss later. Fine. Dubai, every day. Because our formula says that if the employee is staying in Dubai, they have to come every day for work. What about Sharjah? Alternate days. Let's just look at the formula once again. If F5 is equal to Dubai. So let's go through the arguments one by one. The logical test for the first if formula is if F5 is equal to Dubai, F5 is equal to Dubai, fine. Let's check how the result is coming. So the result is showing me alternate days. Let's check why it's showing alternate days. If this is equal to Dubai, is F5 equal to Dubai? No, it's equal to Sharjah, fine. Which means Excel cannot show me this because it is not the value of true, it takes the value of false, which is this. So what is the value of false? If F5 is equal to Sharjah, is it Sharjah? Yes. So then what is the value that has to be shown in case this is true? This, alternate days. And then if it is neither Dubai or Sharjah, it has to be shown, need to discuss later. Let us change the formula a little bit. We have Abu Dhabi here. So we are going to make the formula in such a way, if F5 is equal to Dubai, every day. If it is Abu Dhabi, alternate days. No, or let's do something. Let's complicate the formula with one more level of if. So by the way, what we're doing now is called nested if formulas. As in one if formula is nested inside another if formula. So let's say we're going to be adding one more condition. Right now we have one condition, that is if it is Dubai, show me every day. If it is Sharjah, it has to be shown alternate days. Now let us say we have one more condition. If it is Abu Dhabi, it has to be shown once a week. Or let us say Abu Dhabi has to be shown as work from home. Let's say once a week. Once a week is better, okay. So we're going to have three conditions. If it is Dubai, it has to be shown every day. If it is Sharjah, it has to be shown as alternate days. And if it is Abu Dhabi, it has to be shown as once a week. If none of this, it has to be shown as discuss later. So how would we need to modify this formula? Do we need to change this part? No, because that is the first if condition. If this is equal to Dubai, every day, fine. If this is not true, we open the second value, which is this. If F5 is equal to Sharjah, we have to show alternate days. Now, what we need to do for including the next if formula, we need to delete that. So the logical test here, if this is equal to Sharjah, alternate days. If not, the next if condition opens here. If this is equal to Abu Dhabi, what is the value that has to be shown if it is Abu Dhabi? Once a week. Once a week. And what is the value that has to be shown if it is false? If that formula is false, it has to be shown need to discuss later. And so let's check how many brackets we need to close. We open one here, we open one here, we open one here. So we need to close our if bracket 3 times. We press enter, it's showing alternate days. Now let us just copy, let's just delete the other one now. And let's copy it till here. So let's check that. We look at the formula later, but what is our condition saying? If it is Dubai, it has to be shown every day. If it is Sharjah, it has to be shown alternate days. If it is Abu Dhabi, it has to be shown once a week. If it's anything else, we need to discuss later. Fine. Sharjah, alternate days. That's correct. Dubai, every day. That's correct. Abu Dhabi, once a week, which is also correct. And this is anything else. So let's say I put Ajman here. It's not changing. But imagine I am putting it's Sharjah here. So if I put a Sharjah here, it changes to alternate days. Now, that is all for if formulas. We are going to be looking at Sumif and Sumifs next. If anybody has any doubts in the if formula, please clear it now. If you want me to explain any part of the formula again, we can do that, no problem. Or if you are trying it in your sheets at home and you're not able to get it, then you can let me know. We can work on that. But before we go to Sumif for Sumifs, I would recommend that you clear up any doubts.
Silas,
Yeah,
if I need to do any coloring of one particular, say, alternate days, I want to have a separate color. So then I need to do use the conditional formatting tab.
yes, Uncle, that's a great question. Let's do that right now. So let us do alternate days. So this is the data that we're going to select for alternate days. We're going to do conditional formatting. We're going to do text that contains, and we want alternate days. And we press light red fill with dark red text, we press OK. So you can see that is the way that we can work on that.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks for the question, Uncle. That was a very interesting question. So this is one reason why it's very important to get each part of Excel right, because this is where you can combine stuff. Anyone has any doubts, feel free to ask. As I said at the beginning, no doubt is too dumb or too small.
Can you just repeat that actually, the coloring thing?
Okay, coloring thing, fine. So as we saw last week in conditional formatting, what conditional formatting does is based on any conditions that you put, any condition absolutely, you can even make your own conditions, you can color the text. Now let me show you a small example here. So let us say in salary, we have so many amounts here. Anything greater than 5,000, you want to put it in green color. So you go to conditional formatting, which is in the home tab, you would go to highlight cell rules and you would go to greater than. So what you want is format cells that are greater than 5,000 and you want it in green color. You press OK. Now let us check what happens. So 6,000, 9,800, all these figures are greater than 5,000. But you see 4,000, 1,000, 3,100, all these are less than 5,000, which is why it is not being highlighted in green. That is what conditional formatting does. Now, what Uncle asked me right now, let me show you. The question was the text that is displayed here. So you have different text. You have alternate days, you have every day. You want to display, now let us do conditional formatting twice here. Anything that shows alternate days has to be in red. Anything that shows every day has to be in green. So we select this entire column by using the shortcut control spacebar. And 1 minute, Chipu, I lost myself. Did I say every day in red or green?
Every day in green.
Every day in green. Okay, fine. So format cells that contain the text every day. Every day we're going to put it in green. Okay, we are putting, okay, now alternate days we want to put it in red. So highlight cell rules, we go to text that contains alternate days in red. So that is how conditional formatting works. What we did is we want to do conditional formatting, we want to highlight cell rules, we want to text that contains. So every day is in green, alternate days is in red. You can add more conditions. You want to put once a week in yellow, you can do that. Any other doubts in any of these? Please clarify.
So we made the nest this thing, right? The if nest.
Yeah.
So we can form as much as we can in that?
Yeah, there is no limit. You can just form as many as you want. It's just that you have to make sure that each one of them functions properly, do it slowly, and you can make sure that everything works. Now, there is a way, I'm just going to try it out. I'm not very sure if it works now because the question was asked. Let me just see if I can clarify for you. Where is formula? Okay. So this one we'll discuss later, but I'm just showing it now because the question was asked. So when you have, see, this is only 3 ifs. There will be situations where you have to work with a lot of if conditions. You have to nest probably 10 or 15 if conditions. So one thing what you can use to check how your formula works is you can go to formulas. So you first click on the cell where your formula is. You can go to formulas. You can go to evaluate formula. And you can see the formula in that cell. So the formula is same. If f is equal to Dubai every day, if f is equal to Sharjah alternate days, this is the same formula. Now, when you do evaluate, it shows, it solves the formula part by part. So when you see, you're reading from the left to right, but Excel might not see it that way. Let's do evaluate. The first condition is if Sharjah is equal to Dubai. Why Sharjah? Because Excel is understanding that F5 is Sharjah. So it's taking if this is equal to Dubai, evaluate, and you can see the condition is false. So Excel has automatically checked if this was equal to Dubai and it has resulted false. And it's showing every day. So it will not put every day because the condition is false. So it's not applicable. It goes if Sharjah is equal to Sharjah, because as you saw the second F condition, if F5 is equal to Sharjah, which means if this is equal to Sharjah, it is, which means it has to show true next. So it's showing true, which means all this has to happen. That is the breakup of the formula, but basically the answer to your question is that yes, you can put as many if conditions as you want. Just be very careful, and I would recommend if you're having a lot of if conditions to just go to the formula bar and you do, yeah, you do alt enter. So if I drag this down, you can see if I do alt enter, what happens is the formula breaks into the second line or third line. So when I work with sheets that have a lot of if formulas, I prefer to break it into separate lines. So it's easy to understand which if formula is starting where. I'll just show you that again. You go here, there's a if formula. Now when you look at it as one sentence, it's difficult to understand which if formula starts where. So you can go before your if formula, press alt enter, and then you can go there and you do alt enter. So you can see that it breaks into the next line. So it's easy for you to keep track. Any other doubts before we go on to Sumif or Sumifs? Please clear. Okay, assuming that we have no other doubts before we go on to Sumif, let us bring our questions up. So you will be having these questions along with you. We'll just bring that up. Now, we're going to be looking at the formula of Sumif and Sumifs. When you look at Sumif, so is equal to Sumif, you can see the explanation is it adds the cell specified by a given condition or criteria. So when you open, you can see three things. There is range, there is criteria, and there is sum range. Now, let's go from the right to left. It's easier to understand this way. So if you want sum range, it means there's a certain value that you want sum of. For example, let's say you want to answer this question. How much are we paying to employees who are in Dubai? So how much are we paying to employees who are in Dubai? Which means logically your sum range would be your salaries here. So we saw salaries is also there in the column. You can see in your sheet. So sum range would be your salaries. That is the sum range. It would be your salary column. Then you go to criteria. What's the criteria on which the sum should be taken? Employees who are in Dubai. So that is the condition that you have. That's your criteria that you have. Fine, so that is criteria. Now what is range? Range is the column or the row where your criteria is there. So if your criteria is in, if it's alternate days, then you would have to select column H for range. If your criteria is going to be Dubai, which is the answer to a question here, then you would have to select column F as our range. Let us begin. The first question that we have is how much are we paying to employees who are in Dubai? Let's start with the sum if formula. Let me just bring the formula. I'll just hide these both now. I don't think we need this for now. Okay, is equal to, so the question is how much are we paying to employees who are in Dubai? Is equal to sum if range and criteria and sum range. So what is range? Range is a place where your criteria is placed. What's the criteria that you have? Dubai. So Dubai is shown here, which means your range would be, you can just select this F to F and you can do column. So F to F means from the beginning of column F to the end of column F. Now criteria, it's showing Dubai. Now, as I said before, you can't type Dubai just as it is. You have to put it in double quotes. So Dubai, and then sum range. Sum range would be your salaries. So when I'm selecting D to D, your entire salary is highlighted. Close the bracket, and you're getting 30,300. Now your immediate question is it correct? How would you know if it's correct? Let's filter. So we learned last week to filter. Let's filter this data right now. We're going to do the Emirate of residence only for Dubai. Dubai, and then your salaries total, it shows me here 30,300. So you know that your formula has been correct. Once again, I just filtered Dubai and I took the total of the sum. You can see it is 30,300. So that is how a sum if formula works. That is, how much are we paying to employees who are in Dubai? The first thing is F to F, which is your range where your criteria is there. The second one is criteria. That is, what is the criteria that you want for this to be added or for the sum to be taken, which is Dubai, and then sum range. So what are the values that you want to take the total of? You want to take the total of salaries, which is highlighted some column D. Now that is sum if. So we're going to be looking at sum ifs. Sum ifs, let us do the formula here or here. Is equal to sum ifs. So when you look at sum ifs, you can see there's a small difference in the syntax. The syntax is the first thing that you have to do is sum range. Now the question, let's say the question that we have is how much are we paying to employees who are in Dubai and have worked with us for more than 10 years? So which means where is my criteria range? So the criteria range first one is this one because the employees who are in Dubai, which means this column, and then who have worked with us for more than 10 years, which means number of years in the company. So there is 14, 4, 1, 7, 10, 11, 15. You want to add only those who are in Dubai and those who have worked for more than 11 years. So for that, one example would be this employee here. This employee has worked in Dubai and worked with us for more than 11 years. So let us begin the sum ifs formula for this question here. Sum ifs. Sum range would be salary. Sum range. You should remember this is not range as in sum if formula. This is the sum range. So sum range would be your salary. Fine. Comma. Criteria range 1, comma, criteria 1. So criteria range 1, criteria 1, criteria range 2, criteria 2, range 3, criteria 3, it goes like that. So first is criteria range 1. How much are we paying to employees who are in Dubai? Which means I would need to select this because that is my criteria range 1. And then I put comma, go to criteria 1. The criteria 1 is employees who are in Dubai. So I'm typing Dubai there and putting comma for the next criteria. Criteria range 2, who have worked with us for more than 10 years. Okay, so this is the criteria range 2. I put comma. What is my second criteria? Greater than 10. And that's it. We don't have any more criteria now. Like the question was asked before, we can put an n number of criteria here for some ifs also, because it's almost like an if formula. So if you press enter now, what happens is there is an error. The reason being, similarly, how you put double quotes for text like Dubai or Sharjah, you have to put double quotes for when you do this. When you put a greater than 10 or is equal to 10 or less than 10, you would need to put that also inside a double quotes. Now the answer is showing me 11,900. Immediately your question will be, is that correct? So let us check it with the help of filters, which we learned last week. We're going to filter only Dubai and greater than 10, not 10. We want only greater than 10. So we do filters. We do Dubai there. Oh, by the way, just a shortcut I want to show you. For opening the filters here, I'm not going to be taking my mouse all the way here and pressing here. I just have to do Alt and down arrow. So Alt and down arrow brings me that. Now we select only Dubai. So the first criteria that we had was Dubai. The second criteria that we had was greater than 11. So we will deselect all and we want only greater than 10, yes. So only the values greater than 10 we select. You can see there are two employees here, Kevin and Julia. These are the two employees who work with us who are in Dubai and more than 10 years with us. The total, that is this plus this, comes to 11,900 as is shown here. Let's off the filter and check. Yes, the value that we got with the Sumifs formula was 11,900. That is explanation of Sumif and Sumifs. Next, we're going to look at Averageif, Averageifs, which is the same logic. So if you have any doubts in Sumif or Sumifs, or if you want me to explain them again, please unmute your mic and let me know.
Silas, this one you did the first range as Sal, the criteria.
Yeah.
Why?
Which one you're asking about? Sumif or Sumifs?
Some
Ifs. Okay. So when you look at the syntax for Sumifs, we look at Sumif first. The syntax for Sumif is range, criteria, sum range. Sum range is coming at the end. Okay. Now when you look at Sumifs, sum range is coming first.
Okay.
So that, because it's well, I think what they did is, because this will have so many conditions, they just wanted that something first, and then the criteria start after that.
Okay.
You want me to change the criteria and show you again for Sumifs? No. Okay. If anyone has any doubts in Sumif or Sumifs, please clear, because the next one is Averageif and Averageifs, which is in the exact same logic. Or if you're trying it in your sheets at home and you're not able to get it, do let me know and we can work on it right now. Okay, assuming that we have no doubts in Sumif for Sumifs and everything is okay so far, we move on to Averageif and Averageifs. So this is Sumif. We're going to be looking at Averageif. This one was Sumifs. We're going to be looking at Averageifs. So first, Averageif here. Let us do the exact same questions for Averageif and Averageifs. The first question being, the question would be not how much for average if, it would be what is the average that we're paying to employees who are in Dubai. So the condition would be something like, let's say the company is having employees who are in Dubai, Sharjah. They want to know what is the average pay to employees who are in Dubai. So we open average if. Average if it finds the average for the cells specified by a given condition or criteria. Same way as some if, not some ifs, same way as some if, range, criteria, and average range. The range means where is the range where your criteria is there. This is the range where your criteria, which is Dubai, is there. So once again, the condition is what is the average that you're paying to employees who are in Dubai. That is a range, and then you put comma, and then you open your criteria, which is Dubai, comma, your average range. Now you don't want average of number of years, you don't want average of this. What you want average of is salary. So F to F would be your first range for the criteria, which is Dubai, and then you want the sum of the values that are there in column D. And you would close the bracket here, enter, 5050. As you obviously would have a doubt, we have to check if it's correct. So Dubai, and your average as is shown here is 5050. So that part is correct. What we did here again is we took the average if the employee is staying in Dubai. Now, let's say you have this question. What is the average that we're paying to employees who are in Dubai and who work with us for more than 10 years? So what is the salary that our employees who are in Dubai and who more than 10 years with us are earning? So then you would use, when there are two conditions or more, you'll be using average ifs. So is equal to average ifs. It finds the average for the cell specified by a given set of conditions or criteria. Similarly, as in some ifs, the average range comes first, which means your average range is your salary. Now that comes first. Your second part is your criteria range 1, criteria 1, criteria range 2, criteria 2, criteria range 3, criteria 3, and so on and so on. So your criteria range 1, your employees who are staying in Dubai. So that is your criteria range 1, comma, and it should show Dubai here, comma. Your criteria range 2 is employees who are with us for more than 10 years. So we select that as our range, put a comma there, and then you open your double quotes and you put greater than 10. As I said before, if you are not putting this double quotes, it's going to show an error. So make sure that when you're putting your text or these symbols in your formula, you have to put it in double quotes. Close your bracket and enter 5950. We can check that by using our filters. So we would want Dubai and we would want greater than 10. So before you saw me do something where I just deselected all of this and went here and selected this, I'm going to show you another method. So when you open the filter, you can see number filters. There are different things here, which is pretty easy to understand, but we will just look at greater than. So show rows where number of years in the company is greater than 10, because we want to see our employees who are in Dubai and greater than 10. So you put greater than 10. As we saw before, you have two employees, Kevin and Julia. If you take the average of their salaries, it shows down here 5950. Let's offer filter, and that is Averageifs. Once again, I'll go through the syntax of Averageifs. The first one is the average range. What is the range that you want the average for? You want the range, you want the average of the salaries. So fine, salary is there. And then you look at the criteria. So criteria range 1, what's your criteria 1? It's Dubai. Now where is your criteria? Which column or row is it in? It's in this column. So that is your criteria range 1. And then Dubai is your criteria range, your criteria 1. And then your criteria range 2 is E to E, because you want the number of years in the company. And your second criteria is greater than 10. That is how average if and average ifs work. If anybody has any doubts, please unmute your mic and ask me. Okay, assuming that we are not having any other, do we have any doubts? Chipu, you unmute your mic, you have any doubts?
The filter thing, filter, how did you do filter?
Filter, okay, yeah, somebody has messaged me in chat also, fine. I will be showing the filter thing again. So for the filter thing, what we wanted was, our question was, how much are we paying to employees who are in Dubai and have worked with us for more than 10 years? So I'll explain each part of the filter. Control Shift L is a shortcut like we saw last week. So Control Shift L, my filter opens. I do Alt down arrow as a shortcut for opening the filters. And we select only Dubai. Now, yes, this is one way. And then we want to do greater than 10 years. So you can go manually and do this, but let's say you have a lot of data. You have 1,000 rows of data. You're not going to be able to go and highlight each one of them manually. So then what you would do is you would go number filters. You have a lot of options here. Equals, does not equal. So if I put equals, I can specify if it is exactly 10 years, I would need equal. Or if I want everyone except 10 years, so greater than 10 years, you want less than 10 years, you want, but you don't want 10 years, you would choose does not equal. Similarly, you have all these values here. What we want in our situation is greater than. So you want to show the rows where the number of years in the company is greater than 10, which means only this 11 and 15 should logically come. Now, just for our understanding, let us do is less than, okay? What if we do is less than 10? It means this 4, which is William, then 9, which is Jacob, 3, which is Charlotte, and 4, which is Mia. These values should be shown because these are the years in the company where the value is less than 10. If I do OK, you can see William, Jacob, Charlotte, and Mia. These are the values that are displayed. But that is not our condition. What we want is Dubai and greater than 10 years. Fine. So we open a filter again. We go to number of filters. We want greater than. Is greater than 10. And you put OK. So you see Kevin and Julia are our 2 employees who have number of years in the company greater than 10 years. Let me just show you the filter, that specific function in another situation. Your Emirate of residence, fine. Here you can see there are only 3 or 4 data. But like I said, imagine your data has 1,000 rows of text. You can't manually search each one. You go to text filter, you go to contains. So your Emirate of residence contains what? The text Dubai. And when you press OK, you can see it is filtered using only Dubai. I'll show you that once again. Control Shift L for the shortcut for filter, Alt down arrow for the opening of the filter. You go to text filter. You don't want equals, or you don't want, well, I think equals also is fine. Let's try with equals. So Emirate of residence equals Dubai. Well, it's the same thing. So the contains would be useful where, let's say, you have only a part of the name. You don't have the entire name with you. You have only a part of the name. Then you can use contains. Else you can just use equals here. Any doubts? If you have any doubts, please clear. And then we can go on to Countif and Countifs. Okay. Assuming that we have no more questions in some if or some ifs or average if or average ifs, let's move on to the next part, which is count if and count ifs. So count if and count ifs are the same logic that is there in some if and some ifs and average if and average ifs, which is to count using a specific condition or a criteria. So the question is, how many employees stay in Sharjah? That's a pretty big question, but imagine that you have a lot of data. You cannot manually count. Okay, we have employee number 1 staying in Sharjah, 2, 3 in Sharjah. You can use filters always, but yes, imagine you want a formula for whatever reason. How many employees stay in Sharjah? That is the question that you have. Is equal to count. So at the first class, we had seen count A, count blank. We're going to look at count if. Counts the number of cells within a range that meet the given condition. Count if. You have range and you have criteria. So we are not going to be entering the we're not going to be highlighting the employee names. What we want is to highlight the emirate of residence, because we're going to count the number of Sharjah here. We're not going to be counting the employee names here. We would be going to be counting how the formula counts is there is range and criteria, which means the range for the criteria is this. The criteria that we have is Sharjah. Okay, yeah. The criteria that we have is Sharjah. We close the double quotes, put enter, and 16. Now, yes, we have to check and filter, but before that, explaining the formula once again. How Countif works is you can count based on a specific condition. So the range is Sharjah. Sorry, the range is this, and the condition you have is Sharjah. Now you got 16, which means 16 employees stay in Sharjah. Let's quickly check that with the filter. When you count that, you can see down the number comes as 16. So yes, that counting is correct. The second one is count ifs. How many employees stay in Sharjah and earn less than 4,000? So that would be is equal to count ifs. Here you have the same logic of average ifs and some ifs. You have criteria range 1, then criteria 1, criteria range 2, then criteria 2, criteria range 3, and then criteria 3, and so on and so on. So first is criteria range 1. What is the first criteria that we have? How many employees stay in Sharjah? We select that range, put a comma, and then we put a criteria 1, which is Sharjah. And then criteria range 2 is that. What's your second criteria? It's earning less than 4,000. Sorry, that would not be my correct column. My correct column would be this. Yes, that is my criteria range 2. And then your second criteria is the amount has to be less than 4,000. Once again, as I said, you'd have to put it in double quotes. If you don't put in double quotes, it won't work. Less than, okay, not 4,000, less than 4,000. Okay, 6. So what is showing here is that for the range of Sharjah and less than 4,000, we have 6 employees working. Now we need to check based on those two conditions. So first we filter with Emirate. We want only Sharjah. And for salary, now here we can't go and manually search each one which is less than 4,000. It will take time. So we go to filters again. We go to less than, and we go to 4,000. So if you count the number of employees who are there, it's showing me 6, which is the exact value that we got here. So that is count ifs. Count if works in this way, where you have to enter the range and then the criteria. Count ifs, which is for more than one criteria, the first range, then the criteria 1, second range, criteria 2, and so on, as many as you want. Okay, that is all for Countif and Countifs. Next, we move on to a very important formula, which is last week we learned Vlookup. So you're going to have a lot of errors with Vlookup, and we're going to look at them why, and we're going to look at the best alternative for that. So before we go on to that, if you have any doubts in some ifs, averageifs, or countif or countifs, you can clear it now. I underestimated the amount of water I would need to drink during the class. Okay, assuming that we're all okay here, we're going to look at VLOOKUP and its alternative. So we looked at VLOOKUP last week, and we understood that VLOOKUP is very good and very powerful for looking up formulas, for looking up a text from a table. So you can specify which data you want from which column, and it helps you in that. But there are some issues with VLOOKUP. Let us look at that one by one. Two issues. Let's look at two issues of VLOOKUP. The first one. So we know how VLOOKUP works. Now let's say I have this code here, AJ114. I'm just bringing AJ114 down to here. Okay, and I want to, so this is an employee code. Let's say I want to find employee name. I know it's there somewhere in this, yes, because it's a small table, you can see it's here. But let's say it's a very big table and you don't know where AJ104 is. You want to find out, okay, which employee code it is for. So you would do is equal to VLOOKUP. Lookup value is this, your table array. Where is the table where this data is there? It's here. So you would select that. That's your entire table where the data is there. And then comma, your column index number, which means when you count from the left, how many columns would you need to cover in order to reach your desired data? The second column, even if this table, the entire table was selected, the fact that it's the second column where your data is not changing. It's not counting from the A, B, C, it's counting from your table. So your column index number would be 1, 2, because you want your employee name, 2, and then comma. You want the false because you want the exact match, okay? Close bracket and Tom. So let's check. AJ104 is here and it's showing me Tom. Is it Tom? Yes, perfect. So VLOOKUP is working perfectly. Now I'll show you the issue. I have two names here, Lucas and Jeremiah. Both these names are there here somewhere. So Lucas is there somewhere here and Jeremiah is there here. So I have the employee name. I want to find employee code. Pretty simple. That's what we thought with VLOOKUP. So let's start with VLOOKUP once again. Is equal to VLOOKUP. Lookup value is Lucas, comma. Your table array, where is the data that you want? It's here because you want your employee code. And then comma. Column index number. So when you're counting from the left, how many columns would you need to count to reach your desired data? Column number 1, because you want your employee code, which is in column number 1. We do 1 and we do comma, and we put a false because we want the exact match. We close a bracket and it shows me an error. But why? Lucas is there here, and it's the exact same spelling. Lucas has no mistakes. So why is it not showing me AJ141? Let's copy this formula down to Jeremiah. The formula doesn't work here too, but it's the same logic. J19, which is this, the lookup value, and then table is this. Okay, I will just bring that up. So, okay, B5 to C36. So B5 to C36, my entire table is covered. At least Jeremiah is covered. So AJ158 is in column number 1 of the table, which is 1 here, and false. So then why is it not working? That is issue number 1, which we will address soon. The second issue, let's look at the salary of Lucas right now. So is equal to VLOOKUP. Lookup value, okay? You want Lucas as a lookup value, and then you want table array. So you're selecting all the way. Let's say from here you want, okay, you don't want all of that. You only want your employee name and salary. And you select your entire table, you put a comma, and your column index number, which means from the left of the table, how many columns to the right do you have to go to find your desired data? So 1, 2, because your desired data is salary, which is in column number 2. So you would put 2 there and comma, and then false, close bracket, enter. And the formula is coming perfectly. So if I copy that formula all the way here, it's showing me 6,000 now. Let's check these amounts. So Lucas 1,900, is it correct? Lucas is indeed earning 1,900. It seems there is a lag. Chipo, is everything okay? Is there a lag? It's fine. Okay, fine. So Lucas is 1,900, and you can see Lucas 1,900 fine here. Then you can see Jeremiah is 6,000. So Jeremiah here is 6,000, which is correct. So VLOOKUP is fine, right? Well, what happens if I have to insert a column before salary and I want to insert some random data? I do Control plus, and you can see this has become 0. The reason being, the formula hasn't changed one bit. K18 is correct here, the lookup value. C5 to E36, well, what VLOOKUP has done is a really smart thing, ain't it? Because it's selecting the entire table. And then this hasn't changed because it is 2. The thing is, when we inserted a column here, our data shifted to the right. So technically it's supposed to be number 3 here, column number 3, which is not changing here. The reason why VLOOKUP can fail you 2 times is because, the reason why VLOOKUP can fail you is because of these 2 reasons. One, you cannot VLOOKUP from the right to the left. When we did VLOOKUP all this time, you will notice that we did from left to right. So you can't VLOOKUP the employee code using employee name. If you have Stuart, you can't find out the employee code in VLOOKUP. If you have a situation where you have to insert a column in the middle of your table after you have done a VLOOKUP, what happens is the VLOOKUP formula is broken. This is where a very powerful combination of 2 different formulas come into place. It's index and match. Now, we're not going to be looking at each syntax of index and match because it'll take a very long time, but you're more than welcome to go to YouTube and find out different videos of index and match individually. What we're going to be looking at is, I mean, I don't know personally how index and match works individually because I never use them, but index and match, when you combine them, it gives you a very powerful formula, which can work much better than VLOOKUP. Let's look at the syntaxes now. So index. So you'd have to use index first. You can ignore all of these because like I said, you would have to go to YouTube and learn it by yourself. But we're going to be looking, for our purpose, how index match is better than VLOOKUP. Index, the first thing that you need. So let's work with this data right here. We want employee code. Now we have Lucas, but we want an employee code is equal to index. The first thing that we have to put in our index match formula is, where is your end data? As in, you want employee code, right? Fine, you would select that because you selected your end data which you want, comma, you would have to open your match formula. Just like how we nested if formulas one inside the other, you're going to nest a match formula inside an index formula. So you open match, lookup value. The value that you want to look up, the same logic of VLOOKUP, is Lucas, comma, lookup array. Where is Lucas? In this table. Where is Lucas? In here. So we select the entire column, comma. You don't want less than, you don't want greater than, you want your exact match. So in VLOOKUP, you would select false. In your index match, you would select exact match. It's the same logic. Now we have opened 2 brackets. So same like your if formula, where we had to close 3 different brackets. There is one bracket open here, one bracket open here. We have to close both those brackets and you press enter. It shows AJ141. Let's check. Lucas is here. So Lucas is here and his code is AJ141, which is displayed here. Now I'm not going to copy the formula here because I want to explain it once again. So Jeremiah is equal to index. Where is our end data? Our end data is here, which is the result that we want, comma, match. The lookup value, what is the value that you want to look up? Here. Where is the value that you want to look up? It's here, comma, exact match. You close the bracket twice, AJ158. AJ158 is here in Jeremiah. This is how index match is better than VLOOKUP in one way. It helps you look from left to right or right to left. Now about the salary thing. We saw that when you inserted a column here, the formula was broken. Let's just confirm this formula is working properly. VLOOKUP J18, yes, Lucas is here. C5 to D36, okay. So for similarity with our index match formula, I'm just going to change our VLOOKUP formula a little bit. Lookup value is Lucas. Table array, we are just going to be selecting the entire thing here. So it's C to D, the entire columns are here. Column index, you want the salary which is in the second column, not the data second column. How much you have selected? You have selected 2 columns, so you want it in the second column. Fine, and you want your false 1900. Is it correct? Lucas is earning 1900. Yes, it's correct. And the same control D here. Jeremiah is getting 6000. Jeremiah is getting 6000, which is here. Correct. So we saw that if you insert a column in the middle, this becomes 0. Let's check if that happens with index match. Is equal to index. So in index, the first argument that you need is where is your end data? The end data that you want is salary, which would be here, salary. Then you open the match. Lookup value is Lucas. Where is your lookup value? As in, where is that column or your row? It's here, the employee name, comma, exact match. We close a bracket twice, 1900. So Lucas, as we checked earlier, 1900, and it's giving me 1900 here. Perfect. Let us just copy that down and 6000. Now let's check our issue with VLOOKUP. So if you insert a column here, we saw that there was an issue with VLOOKUP where our values became 0. I'm inserting a column here. You can see that with index match, the values don't disappear because you are specifying 2 separate columns. You are not specifying this column related to this column as in column number 1, 2, and 3. You are specifying this column separate. So index match is better than VLOOKUP in at least these 2 circumstances. That is the basic of your index match works. Now, obviously, you can, like you saw with the if formula, nesting, you can nest if formulas, you can nest index match. So you can do in such a way that if this is this, index match that, or if something else is true, we look up something else. You can merge all of that, which we'll look at later, but this is the basic. I would recommend you very strongly to learn this index match because I use it a lot and I would recommend it a lot over VLOOKUP. We have any doubts? We are done with today's stuff. We have any doubts, please clear it. I'm here. Any doubts, please clear it.
Silas.
Yeah.
So overall, you mean to say that index match is better than VLOOKUP, or just these 2 instances?
No, I would say that overall index match is better. Now, if you want something really quickly, you can just use VLOOKUP. But once you mess with your table or you manipulate the table in some way, I would recommend that index match is better.
Okay.
So let's say that your data is completed. You have a complete table in front of you. You can use VLOOKUP. If you know for sure you're not going to move the table anywhere or something of that sort. But if ever you're going to work with the table again, I would recommend that you use index match.
Okay, all right.
Now, each element that we learn about Excel in each session is very important by itself, but it's also important that we learn to combine stuff. So, like we saw today, we use the if formula and then we use the conditional formatting on top of that, which we learned last week. So, if any part of any formula is not clear, please make sure you clear it. Like I said before, no doubt is too silly, no doubt is too dumb. There was a time I did not use any of this. I learned slowly with the help of others. Same way, if you have any doubts, please feel free to create it right now. Okay, assuming that we're all good, if ever any of you have any doubts, if you can feel free to message me too. We can sit one-on-one and we can clear the doubts also. If not, we're going to be ending this session here for today. Just requesting you all to do a small favor for me by filling up the Google Forms that my friend Chipu will be sending in the chats right now. So you can just fill that up for me and it will help me greatly in developing my future classes also. Chipu, we are done, right? There's nothing else to... All okay so far, right?